I never thought I'd see Ethan Walsh again. Not after everything. Not after the divorce papers were signed. Not after I changed my locks. Not after I blocked his number for the 100th time. 2 years. 2 entire years of therapy sessions, breathing exercises, and forcing myself to believe that I could exist without looking over my shoulder. 2 years of rebuilding a life that he had systematically dismantled, brick by brick, until I didn't even recognize myself anymore. But there he was, standing in the parking lot of the grocery store on a random Tuesday evening, leaning against my car like he owned it. Like he still owned me. My hands were full of bags. Milk, bread, eggs, the basic things that make you feel normal. And my heart immediately started racing the second I saw his silhouette. That tall frame, that smug posture, that smile that used to make me feel safe, and now only made my stomach turn. I thought about turning around, pretending I didn't see him, maybe hiding in the store until he left. But that would mean leaving my car, leaving my groceries, running away again. And I was so tired of running. "Lena?" he called out, his voice smooth and familiar, like poison wrapped in velvet. "Long time no see." I kept walking, keys clutched tight in my hand, trying to steady my breathing. "Ethan, move. That's all you have to say to me?" He pushed off the car and stepped directly into my path, blocking the driver's side door. "After everything we had?" "Everything we had?" I repeated, my voice sharper than I intended. "You mean everything you destroyed?" His jaw tightened, and I saw that flash in his eyes, the one I used to fear, the one that meant I had said something wrong, crossed some invisible line he'd drawn without telling me. "Don't be dramatic. You always did that. Made everything bigger than it was." I tried to sidestep him, but he moved with me, mirroring my movements like this was some kind of dance. My pulse hammered in my ears. The parking lot was mostly empty, just a few scattered cars under the dim yellow lights. No one close enough to hear. No one close enough to care. "Ethan, I'm not doing this. Let me go." "Let you go?" He laughed, a cold, bitter sound. "I already did that, remember? I signed the papers. I let you have your little freedom. And what did you do with it? You look miserable, Lena. You look exactly like I said you would." "I'm fine," I said, even though my hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped the grocery bags. "No, you're not." He stepped closer, so close I could smell the cologne he always wore, the same one that used to linger on my clothes, my hair, my skin. "You think you're better off without me? Look at yourself. Still alone, still broken, still the same scared little girl who couldn't make a single decision without me." I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw the groceries at him and run. But my body felt frozen, trapped between the cars, trapped between the past and the present. He reached out and grabbed my wrist, not hard enough to bruise. He was always careful about that, but firm enough to remind me that he could. "Let go of me." Or what? He leaned in, his face inches from mine, and I hated how small I felt. How powerless. "You gonna call someone?" "Who, Lena?" "You don't have anyone. You never did. That was the problem. You thought you could leave, thought someone would save you. But no one ever does. That's not how the world works." Tears burned at the corners of my eyes, and I hated myself for it. Hated that after all this time, after all the therapy, after all the promises I made to myself. He could still make me cry with just a few words. "Don't cry," he said, his voice dropping to that patronizing tone I remembered too well. "Don't cry. No one ever saves you." That phrase. That cursed, horrible phrase he used to say every time I broke down. Every time I begged him to stop. Every time I thought maybe, just maybe, someone would see what was happening and help me. He would whisper it in my ear, soft and cruel. A reminder that I was utterly alone, I tried to pull my wrist free, but he held on tighter. Ethan, please. Please what? Please leave you alone? Please pretend like you didn't waste years of my life? Please act like you're not still the same pathetic. Let her go. The voice came from behind Ethan, low and calm, but with a weight to it that made the air feel heavier. Ethan froze, his grip on my wrist loosening just slightly. I looked past him and saw a man standing a few feet away, leaning casually against a black Dodge Charger I hadn't noticed before. He was tall, taller than Ethan, with dark hair slicked back, sharp features, and a presence that seemed to fill the entire parking lot, despite his relaxed posture. He wasn't dressed like someone who'd just come from the gym or a quick grocery run. He wore a perfectly tailored black shirt, sleeves rolled up to reveal a watch that probably cost more than my rent, and his eyes, dark, calculating, unreadable, were fixed directly on Ethan. Ethan recovered quickly, plastering on that fake confident smile he used whenever he felt threatened. "This is a private conversation, buddy. Move along." The man didn't move. He didn't even blink. I said, "Let her go." There was no aggression in his voice, no raised volume, but something about the way he said it made my skin prickle. It wasn't a request. It wasn't even a demand. It was a certainty, like he'd already decided how this was going to end and was just waiting for Ethan to catch up. Ethan's fingers tightened on my wrist for a second, some stubborn reflex to prove he was still in control. But then he let go, stepping back and raising his hands in mock surrender. All right. No need to get involved. We're just talking." Didn't look like talking. The man's gaze shifted to me, and for a second, I saw something flicker in his expression. Concern, maybe, or recognition. Not of me, but of the situation. "You okay?" I nodded quickly, even though I wasn't sure if I was lying. My wrist throbbed where Ethan had been holding it, and my heart was still racing. "I'm fine. Thank you." Ethan scoffed, shaking his head. "See? She's fine. So why don't you mind your own business?" The man pushed off the Charger and walked forward, slow and deliberate, like a predator who didn't need to rush because his prey wasn't going anywhere. He stopped just a few feet from Ethan, close enough that Ethan had to tilt his head up slightly to meet his eyes. The height difference was subtle, but the power dynamic was not. "Here's the thing," the man said, his voice still calm, still measured. "I heard everything. Every word you said to her, every threat, every insult. So when you say mind your own business, what I hear is, please ignore the fact that I'm a coward who gets off on scaring women in parking lots." Ethan's face flushed red, and I saw his hands curl into fists at his sides. "You don't know what you're talking about." "I know exactly what I'm talking about." The man tilted his head slightly, studying Ethan like he was something under a microscope. "I know your type. You're loud when you think no one's watching. You're tough when you think she's alone. But right now?" He smiled, cold and sharp. "You're neither." Ethan opened his mouth, probably to say something cutting or dismissive, but the man cut him off before he could start. "Walk away, now, and don't come back." For a moment I thought Ethan might actually try something. His jaw was clenched, his shoulders tight, and I knew that look, the one that said he was weighing his options, calculating whether his pride was worth the risk. But then he looked at the man again, really looked at him, and something in his expression changed. Fear. Actual, genuine fear. He stepped back, glancing at me one last time. "This isn't over, Lena." "Yes, it is," the man said, his voice dropping even lower, almost a whisper. "And if I see you near her again, we're going to have a very different conversation, one you won't walk away from." Ethan hesitated, then turned and walked quickly toward his truck, not looking back. I watched him go, my legs shaking so badly I thought I might collapse. The man stood there until Ethan's truck disappeared into the street, then turned to me. "You should sit down," he said, gesturing toward the curb near his car. "You look like you're about to pass out." I wanted to argue, to say I was fine, but my body betrayed me. I stumbled toward the curb and sat down hard, dropping the grocery bags beside me. He crouched down in front of me, not too close, giving me space but staying near enough that I felt protected, safe, which was absurd, because I didn't even know who he was. "I'm Marco," he said after a moment. "Marco Santoro." The name didn't mean anything to me. Should it have? I searched his face, trying to place him, but came up empty. "Lena," I managed. "Lena Walsh." "I know," he said, and when I looked confused, he added, I heard him say it. "Right. Of course." I wrapped my arms around myself, suddenly freezing despite the warm evening air. "Thank you for that. You didn't have to." "Yes, I did." His voice was firm, no room for argument. "I heard what he said to you, that no one saves you." He was wrong. I laughed, a broken, hollow sound. Was he, though? Marco's expression softened, just slightly, and he reached out, not touching me, but pointing to my wrist where Ethan had grabbed me. "You're hurt." I looked down and saw the red marks, already starting to darken into bruises. "It's nothing. It'll fade." "It's not nothing." He stood up, pulling a phone from his pocket. "Do you need a hospital? Police?" "No." The word came out too fast, too panicked, and I saw him pause. "No police. Please. It'll just make things worse. He'll twist it. He always does, and I can't go through that again." Marco studied me for a long moment, then nodded slowly. "Okay, no police. But you shouldn't go home alone tonight. Does he know where you live?" The question made my stomach drop. "Yes." "Then you're not going back there. Not tonight." "I don't have anywhere else to go," I admitted, hating how pathetic I sounded. "I don't really have people." He was quiet for a moment, then made a decision. "You do now. Come on. I'll take you somewhere safe." I should have been scared. I should have questioned who this man was, why he was helping me, what he wanted in return. But as I looked up at him, this stranger who'd appeared out of nowhere and stood between me and my worst nightmare, all I felt was exhausted relief. So I nodded, grabbed my bags, and followed Marco Santoro into the unknown. Marco's car smelled like leather and expensive cologne, the kind you don't find in department stores. I sat in the passenger seat, grocery bags at my feet, trying to process what had just happened. My wrist still throbbed, a dull reminder that Ethan had been real, that the encounter wasn't just some nightmare I could wake up from. I pressed my thumb against the bruises forming on my skin, feeling the tender spots, grounding myself in the physical pain because the emotional one was too vast to comprehend. "Where are we going?" I finally asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Marco kept his eyes on the road, one hand on the wheel, the other resting casually on the center console. "Somewhere he can't follow, somewhere safe." "You keep saying that. Safe. But I don't even know you." The words came out sharper than I intended, defensive. "For all I know, you could be worse than him." Marco glanced at me, and there was something almost amused in his expression. "Fair point. But if I wanted to hurt you, I wouldn't have bothered with the theatrics in the parking lot." He had a point, twisted as it was. I looked out the window, watching the familiar streets of my neighborhood fade into areas I didn't recognize, nicer areas, quieter, the kind of place where houses had gates and security systems and privacy hedges tall enough to hide entire lives. "I heard everything he said to you," Marco continued after a moment. "That phrase, 'No one ever saves you,' he's used it before, hasn't he?" I didn't answer, but my silence was answer enough. Men like him, Marco said, his voice taking on a harder edge. They're predators. They find someone vulnerable, someone kind, and they systematically break them down until they believe all the lies, until they think they deserve it. And what makes you such an expert? I shot back, still defensive, still trying to find solid ground in a situation that felt like quicksand. He was quiet for a moment, then said simply, experience. Something about the way he said it, no elaboration, no justification, made me stop pushing. We drove in silence for another 10 minutes before pulling through a set of iron gates that opened automatically as we approached. The driveway was long, lined with perfectly manicured trees, leading to a house that was more mansion than home. 3 stories of modern architecture, all glass and sharp angles, lit from within with warm golden light. You live here? I asked, unable to keep the disbelief out of my voice. I do. Marco parked near the front entrance and got out, coming around to open my door before I could reach for the handle. It's probably excessive, but it serves its purpose. I stepped out slowly, clutching my grocery bags like they were a lifeline to reality. And what purpose is that? Keeping people out. He gestured toward the house. Come on, you must be exhausted. I was, bone deep, soul-crushing exhausted. The kind of tired that comes from carrying fear for so long you forget what it feels like to put it down. I followed Marco through the front door into an entryway that could have fit my entire apartment. Marble floors, high ceilings, a chandelier that looked like it cost more than my car. Everything was pristine, elegant, and somehow impersonal, like a showroom rather than a home. The kitchen's this way, Marco said, leading me through an archway into a space that was all sleek countertops and professional-grade appliances. He took the grocery bags from my hands and started unpacking them without asking, putting the milk in the fridge, the bread on the counter. Have you eaten? I don't remember. It was the truth. I couldn't recall the last time I'd had a real meal, something that wasn't grabbed between classes or eaten standing up at my kitchen counter. Then I'll make something. He rolled up his sleeves. I noticed a tattoo peeking out from under the fabric, something dark and intricate, and started pulling ingredients from various cabinets. Sit. You look like you're about to fall over. I sat on one of the bar stools, watching him move around the kitchen with surprising ease. This man, this stranger who'd appeared out of nowhere, was cooking for me. It was surreal, absurd. And yet here I was, in his house, letting it happen because I didn't have the energy to question it anymore. Why are you helping me? I asked as he set a pan on the stove. Marco looked at me over his shoulder, considering the question. Why wouldn't I? Because people don't. Not really. They see things, they hear things, they know something's wrong, but they don't actually do anything. They walk away. They tell themselves it's not their problem. Maybe I'm not like most people. He cracked eggs into the pan, the sizzle filling the silence between us. Or maybe I just don't like bullies. He's more than a bully, I said quietly. He's everything. He was everything. My husband, my best friend, the person I thought I'd spend my life with. And then one day I woke up and realized I was terrified of him. That I'd been terrified for years and just didn't have a name for it. Marco didn't interrupt, didn't offer platitudes or try to fix it. He just listened, cooking in silence, letting me speak. I left him 2 years ago, I continued, the words spilling out now like water through a broken dam. Packed a bag while he was at work, took the essentials, and just left. Filed for divorce. Changed my number. Moved to a different apartment. I thought I was free. But he keeps showing up. Keeps finding me. Keeps reminding me that I'll never really be rid of him. You will be, Marco said, plating the eggs and sliding them across the counter to me along with toast and fresh fruit. You are. Tonight proved that. Tonight proved nothing except that I'm still weak. I couldn't even tell him to leave me alone without what? Without a stranger intervening? Marco leaned against the counter, arms crossed. Lena, you left him. You divorced him. You built a new life. That's not weakness. That's courage. The fact that he's still trying to tear you down just means he knows you're stronger than him now, and he can't stand it. I picked at the food, my appetite non-existent, but my body grateful for something warm and solid. I teach elementary school, I said after a moment. 2nd grade. I spend my days with kids who still believe the world is good, who trust that adults will protect them, who think problems can be solved with stickers and extra recess time. And then I go home and I'm terrified of shadows and footsteps and phone calls. What kind of teacher does that make me? The kind who understands that the world isn't always kind, Marco said. The kind who can teach those kids to be strong and compassionate, because you know what happens when you're not. I looked at him, really looked at him for the first time since he'd intervened in the parking lot. He was handsome in that sharp, dangerous way, all angles and intensity. But there was something else there too. Something careful. Something that suggested he understood fear from both sides of the equation. Who are you really? I asked. And don't give me that, just someone who doesn't like bullies line. Nobody lives in a house like this just from being a good Samaritan. Marco's expression didn't change, but I saw a flicker of something. Amusement, maybe, or respect. You're right. I'm not a good Samaritan. Let's call it a businessman. What kind of business? The kind that requires discretion. He held my gaze, and I understood the subtext immediately. The kind of business that didn't get discussed in polite company. The kind that existed in the shadows and gray areas of legality. I should have been scared. Should have grabbed my things and called a cab and gotten as far away from him as possible. But instead, I felt a strange sense of relief, because a man like Marco, whatever he was, wasn't going to be intimidated by Ethan, wasn't going to look the other way, wasn't going to tell me I was overreacting or being dramatic or making things up. So you're a criminal, I said bluntly. I prefer entrepreneur with flexible morals. The corner of his mouth twitched, almost a smile. But yes, essentially. And I'm supposed to feel safe here? With you? You felt safe enough to get in my car, to eat my food, to sit in my kitchen and tell me things I doubt you've told anyone else. He pushed off the counter and walked to the sink, rinsing his hands. Trust your instincts, Lena. If they're telling you to run, then run. But if they're telling you that maybe, just maybe, you found someone who will actually stand between you and the monsters, then stay. My instincts were a mess. 2 years of Ethan had scrambled them beyond recognition, made me doubt everything I felt, everything I knew. But sitting there in Marco's kitchen, with the warm food and the quiet concern and the complete absence of judgment in his eyes, I felt something I hadn't felt in longer than I could remember. I felt seen. Just for tonight, I said quietly. I'll stay just for tonight, and then tomorrow I'll figure out what to do. Fair enough. Marco nodded toward a hallway. Guest rooms upstairs, second door on the left, bathrooms attached. I'll leave some clothes outside the door in case you want to change. Your groceries will be fine in the fridge. Thank you, I said, standing up slowly. My legs felt shaky, unstable, like I'd run a marathon without realizing it. For everything. I don't know why you did this, but thank you. You don't need to keep thanking me, Marco said. Just rest. We'll figure everything else out in the morning. I nodded and made my way upstairs, following his directions to a guest room that was bigger than my entire apartment. The bed looked like something from a luxury hotel, all white linens and plush pillows. The bathroom had a walk-in shower with multiple heads and heated floors. It was almost obscene how nice everything was. I found the clothes Marco had mentioned, a soft t-shirt and clean sweatpants that were about 10 sizes too big, and changed out of my work clothes. When I looked in the mirror, I barely recognized the woman staring back at me, pale, exhausted, scared, but also something else, something like hope. I climbed into the bed, expecting to lie awake for hours replaying the parking lot encounter in my mind. But the moment my head hit the pillow, sleep pulled me under like a wave. Deep, dreamless, uninterrupted sleep. The kind I hadn't experienced in 2 years. Because for the first time since leaving Ethan, I wasn't sleeping alone with the fear that he might find me. I was sleeping in the house of a man who'd heard that fear and decided to do something about it. And somehow, impossibly, that made all the difference. I woke up disoriented, my hand instinctively reaching for the nightstand that wasn't there, the alarm clock that didn't exist in this room. Sunlight streamed through unfamiliar windows, illuminating walls I'd never seen before. For a moment, one horrible, panic-inducing moment, I thought maybe Ethan had found me again, that everything from last night had been a dream, that I'd wake up trapped and alone, and then I remembered. Marco, the parking lot, the mansion, safety. I sat up slowly, taking in the guest room in daylight. It was even more luxurious than I'd realized last night. All neutral tones and expensive furniture. My work clothes were folded neatly on a chair by the door, and beside them sat a tray with coffee, fresh pastries, and a note in clean masculine handwriting. Didn't want to wake you. Help yourself to anything. M. I stared at that note for a long time, trying to reconcile the man who'd written it with everything I thought I knew about dangerous people. Ethan had been dangerous in that subtle, insidious way, the kind that crept up on you until you were trapped. But Marco was dangerous in a completely different way. Open about it, honest, which somehow made it less terrifying and more complicated. I took the coffee. Perfect temperature, cream no sugar, exactly how I liked it, even though I'd never told him, and wandered to the window. The view overlooked a massive backyard, with a pool, garden, and what looked like a security perimeter, disguised as decorative fencing. Everything was pristine, controlled, protected. Like Marco's entire life was designed to keep chaos at bay. After drinking the coffee and eating one of the pastries, some kind of almond croissant that probably cost more than my weekly grocery budget, I changed back into my work clothes and ventured downstairs. The house was quiet, almost eerily so. I followed the scent of more coffee to the kitchen, where I found Marco sitting at the counter with a laptop, wearing reading glasses that somehow made him look both more human and more intimidating. "Good morning," he said without looking up. "Sleep well?" "Better than I have in months," I admitted, pouring myself another cup of coffee. Which is strange, considering I'm in a stranger's house. Not a stranger anymore. He finally looked up, removing the glasses. "We shared eggs. That's practically friendship." I almost smiled, almost. "Is that how it works in your world?" "My world has its own rules." He closed the laptop and pushed it aside. "Speaking of which, we need to talk about yours." The shift in his tone made my stomach tighten. "What about it?" "Ethan." Marco leaned back in his chair, studying me with that same intense focus he'd used on my ex in the parking lot. "He's not going to just disappear. Men like him don't stop until they're made to stop." "I know." I wrapped both hands around my coffee mug, seeking warmth. "I've tried everything. Restraining orders, changing numbers, moving apartments. He always finds a way around it, because the system isn't designed to stop people like him. It's designed to document, to create paper trails that might be useful after something terrible happens. Marco's jaw tightened. I don't wait for terrible things to happen. What are you suggesting? I'm suggesting that you let me handle this. The words hung in the air between us, heavy with implication. I knew what he meant. Knew what kind of handling a man like Marco was capable of. And the fact that part of me, a significant part, felt relieved rather than horrified, said everything about how desperate I'd become. I can't ask you to do that, I said quietly. I can't ask you to get involved in my mess. You didn't ask. I offered. He stood up, moving around the counter until he was close enough that I had to tilt my head back to maintain eye contact. Lena, I'm already involved. The second I heard what he said to you, I made a choice. The question now is whether you're going to let me help, or whether you're going to go back to handling this alone. I've always handled things alone. I know. I can see it in the way you carry yourself, the way you apologize for taking up space, the way you're surprised when someone shows you basic kindness. His voice softened. But you don't have to anymore. I wanted to argue. Wanted to maintain the walls I'd built around myself. The ones that said I didn't need anyone, that I could survive on my own. But those walls were exhausting to maintain. And standing here in Marco's kitchen, with his steady presence and his unwavering certainty, I felt them starting to crack. What would handling it even look like? I asked. For now, making sure he knows you're not alone, that there are consequences if he comes near you. Marco reached for his phone and pulled up something on the screen. I've already had my people look into him. Ethan Walsh, 33, works in sales for a medical supply company. Decent salary, no criminal record, but multiple complaints filed by ex-girlfriends over the years. All dropped, all swept under the rug. You researched him? When? Last night while you were sleeping. I wanted to know what we were dealing with. He showed me the phone screen, a comprehensive profile of Ethan that included employment history, financial records, social media accounts, and more. He's not as invisible as he thinks he is. I stared at the information, feeling a mix of violation and validation. This is illegal, isn't it? Accessing all of this? Extremely. Marco pocketed the phone again. But effective. I should be concerned about that. Should be, yes. Are you? I thought about it. Really thought about it. And the truth was, no, I wasn't concerned. I was grateful. Because for the first time in 2 years, someone was taking my fears seriously. Someone was doing something instead of just sympathizing. No, I admitted. I'm not. Something shifted in Marco's expression. Approval, maybe, or satisfaction. Good. Then here's what we're going to do. You're going to go to work today like normal. I'm going to have someone watching your classroom, your car, your apartment building. If Ethan shows up anywhere near you, we'll know. You're going to have me followed? I'm going to have you protected. There's a difference. He moved back to his side of the counter, creating distance but maintaining that sense of control. And tonight, you're going to come back here, not to your apartment. Marco, I can't just move into your house. Why not? Because it's insane. Because I have a life, a routine, responsibilities. I can't just hide here forever. I'm not asking you to hide. I'm asking you to be smart. His voice took on that harder edge again. Ethan knows where you live. He's shown he's willing to confront you in public places. He's escalating. And you being in that apartment alone makes you an easy target. I hated that he was right. Hated that my independence, the thing I'd fought so hard to reclaim, was now the thing putting me in danger. How long? Until he backs off, or until we make him back off. And if he doesn't? Marco's expression went cold, distant. Then we moved to more permanent solutions. I should have pressed him on that. Should have demanded to know exactly what permanent solutions meant. But I was tired of fighting battles alone. Tired of being strong when what I really wanted was to feel safe. So instead, I just nodded. Okay, one more night. But I need to go to my apartment and get some things. Clothes, work supplies, lesson plans. I'll take you, after your shift ends. Marco glanced at his watch, some complicated piece of machinery that probably cost more than my annual salary. You should get ready. School starts in an hour. He was right. I should go. Resume my normal life, pretend everything was fine, teach my second graders about fractions and spelling and the importance of raising your hand before speaking. But standing there in his kitchen, wearing yesterday's clothes, drinking his expensive coffee, I felt a strange reluctance to leave. Because leaving meant going back to the real world, and the real world was where Ethan lived. Hey, Marco said, his voice gentle. You'll be fine. I promise. You can't promise that. Watch me. There was something in his eyes. Determination, certainty, maybe even a hint of possessiveness that made me believe him. Made me think that maybe, just maybe, he could do the impossible. That he could keep me safe in a way the police couldn't. The courts wouldn't. And Ethan never had. So I finished my coffee, gathered my things, and let Marco drive me to school in his ridiculous black Charger that turned every head on the street. He parked a block away from the building, close enough to be accessible, far enough to not draw attention, and walked me to the entrance like it was the most natural thing in the world. Remember, he said as I reached for the door. Someone's watching. If anything feels off, you call me immediately. He pressed a card into my hand with a single phone number printed on it. No name, no other information. Just 10 digits that somehow represented safety. Thank you, I said, pocketing the card. For all of this. I still don't understand why, but thank you. Marco smiled, a real smile this time, not the cold, calculated ones from before. Maybe I just don't like seeing good people suffer. Or maybe you're more complicated than you pretend to be. Maybe. He glanced at the school building, then back at me. Go teach your kids. I'll see you tonight. I watched him walk back to his car, watched him drive away, and then turned to face my day. 22 7-year-olds who needed spelling tests and math problems and someone to believe in. And somewhere out there, a man watching the building to make sure my ex-husband didn't show up to destroy what little normalcy I had left. My life had become a surreal contradiction. Violence and kindness, danger and protection, fear, and something that felt dangerously close to trust. And as I walked into my classroom and greeted my students with the brightest smile I could manage, I realized I had no idea which emotion would win. But for the first time in a long time, I was willing to find out. The school day passed in a blur of multiplication tables, reading circles, and a minor crisis when Emma Martinez decided that sharing crayons was communism and refused to participate in art class. By 3 o'clock, I was exhausted in that specific way that comes from managing 22 tiny humans while simultaneously scanning every doorway and window for signs of Ethan. He didn't show, but I felt him everywhere. In the shadow that passed by the classroom window during recess, in the unfamiliar car parked across the street during lunch, in the phone call to the main office that turned out to be a parent asking about the holiday concert. Every moment was hypervigilance disguised as normalcy, and it was exhausting. When the final bell rang, and my students scattered to their buses and parents, I sat at my desk for a long moment, just breathing. The card Marco had given me sat in my pocket, a physical reminder that someone was watching, someone cared, someone had promised to keep me safe. I pulled it out and stared at the number, my thumb hovering over my phone's keypad. I didn't need to call. Nothing had happened. But the urge to hear his voice, to confirm that last night wasn't some elaborate dream, overwhelmed my common sense. I dialed. He answered on the first ring. Everything okay? Yes. Fine. I paused, feeling foolish. I made it through the day. I know, I've been getting updates. His voice was warm, amused. Emma Martinez and the crayon controversy was particularly entertaining. I sat up straighter. You've been what? Watching. Like I said I would. There's a man in a gray sedan who's been parked across from your school all day. One of mine. He's very good at crossword puzzles, apparently. I looked out the window and, sure enough, spotted the gray sedan. A man in sunglasses sat in the driver's seat, completely inconspicuous, except now that I knew to look for him. The idea that someone had been watching me all day should have felt invasive, creepy even. Instead, it felt comforting. I'm ready to go to my apartment, I said, to pick up my things. I'm 5 minutes away. Stay inside until I text you. He hung up before I could respond, leaving me staring at my phone in a mix of frustration and fascination. Marco Santoro was not a man who asked permission or sought consensus. He identified problems and solved them. End of discussion. It should have bothered me more than it did. True to his word, my phone buzzed exactly 4 minutes later. Outside, blue sedan today. Don't want to attract attention. I gathered my bag and lesson plans, locked up my classroom, and headed to the front entrance. The gray sedan was gone, replaced by an unremarkable blue Toyota that somehow radiated expensive underneath its ordinary exterior. Marco sat in the driver's seat, looking completely out of place in the domestic vehicle, like a lion trying to blend in with house cats. Nice car, I said, sliding into the passenger seat. Borrowed it from one of my guys. The Charger attracts too much attention. He pulled into traffic smoothly. What's your address? I gave it to him, then added, You probably already know it. I do, but it's polite to ask. He glanced at me, something almost playful in his expression. How were your kids today, besides the crayon communist? The question surprised me. Most people glazed over when I talked about teaching, offering perfunctory, that's nice responses before changing the subject. But Marco seemed genuinely interested, so I told him about Emma's political awakening, about Jaden's breakthrough with long division, about the reading group that finally clicked with Charlotte's Web. He listened without interrupting, asking questions that showed he was actually paying attention. You love it, he observed as we turned onto my street. Teaching. It's not just a job for you. No, I agreed. It's the only thing that makes sense anymore, those kids. They still believe the world is good, that people are kind, that problems have solutions. I want to protect that for as long as I can. Even though you know it's not always true. Especially because I know it's not always true. I looked out the window at my apartment building, a plain 3-story structure with peeling paint and a broken intercom system. Someone should get to believe in happy endings. Marco parked on the street, his eyes scanning the area with professional efficiency. Which floor? 3rd, 3B. I reached for the door handle, but he stopped me with a hand on my arm. Wait, let me check first. Check for what? For whether your ex-husband is stupid enough to be waiting for you. He got out, came around to my side, and opened the door like we were on some kind of date instead of a security operation. Stay close to me. If I tell you to run, you run. Understood? Marco. Understood? The intensity in his voice left no room for argument. Understood. We walked to the building entrance together, and I noticed how Marco positioned himself slightly in front of me, his body a shield between me and any potential threat. The gesture was both protective and possessive, and I wasn't sure how I felt about either interpretation. My apartment was exactly as I'd left it, cluttered but clean, full of books and plants and the small comforts I'd accumulated in my attempt to build a life after Ethan. Marco did a quick sweep of every room, checking closets and behind doors with the efficiency of someone who'd done this many times before. When he was satisfied we were alone, he nodded toward my bedroom. Pack what you need. I'll wait here. I moved through the apartment like a ghost, pulling clothes from my closet, gathering toiletries from the bathroom, collecting the lesson plans and papers I'd need for the rest of the week. Everything felt surreal, like I was preparing for a trip instead of essentially fleeing my own home. When I emerged with a duffel bag and my work tote, Marco was standing by the window, phone to his ear, speaking in Italian too rapid for me to follow. He hung up when he saw me. Ready? I think so. Should I leave a note or something? Tell my landlord I'll be gone for a few days? No. The fewer people who know your movements, the better. He took my bags without asking, heading for the door. Let's go. We were halfway down the stairs when I saw him. Ethan, standing in the second-floor hallway, leaning against the wall like he owned the place, like he'd been waiting. His eyes locked onto mine, and that familiar smile, cruel, confident, spread across his face. Lena, there you are. We need to talk. Marco moved so fast I barely registered it. One moment he was behind me. The next he was in front, his body completely blocking Ethan's view of me. No, you don't. Ethan's smile faltered when he registered Marco, recognition flashing across his face. You, the parking lot guy. What are you, her new boyfriend? That was fast. I'm someone who keeps his promises. Marco's voice was dangerously calm. And I promise that if you came near her again, we'd have a different kind of conversation. This is my ex-wife's building. I have every right to be here. Actually, you don't. There's a restraining order that says otherwise. Marco took a step forward, and despite Ethan's attempt to look unbothered, I saw him flinch. You violated it by being here. That's a criminal offense. Would you like me to call the police, or would you prefer to leave on your own? She doesn't need a bodyguard. She needs to stop being dramatic, and she doesn't need anything from you. Marco's voice dropped to something I'd never heard before. Quiet, lethal, absolute. This is your last warning, Ethan. Walk away, delete her number, forget she exists, because if I see you near her school, near her apartment, near any place she goes, I won't call the police. I'll handle it myself. And trust me, you don't want that. Ethan tried to maintain his bravado, tried to look like he wasn't intimidated, but his hands were shaking. You can't threaten me. I'll press charges. You'll do nothing. Marco pulled out his phone and showed Ethan the screen. That's your car 2 blocks away. That's your license plate. That's you entering this building 16 minutes ago. I have time-stamped photos, witness statements, and a very expensive lawyer who loves restraining order violations. So let me be clear. Press whatever charges you want. I have an alibi for every second of today and more evidence of your harassment than you can imagine. I watched Ethan's face cycle through emotions. Anger, fear, confusion, more fear. He looked at me, trying to find some weakness, some opening. Lena, you don't need to do this. We can talk like adults. No, I heard myself say, my voice steadier than I expected. We can't. We're done talking, Ethan. We've been done for 2 years. Leave me alone. You heard her. Marco handed me my bags and gestured toward the stairs. Get in the car. I'll be right behind you. I wanted to stay, wanted to see how this ended, but something in Marco's expression told me this was not negotiable. So I walked past Ethan, gave him as wide a berth as possible, and hurried down the stairs. Behind me, I heard Marco's voice, low and intense, saying something I couldn't quite make out. Then footsteps. Marco's measured and calm, followed by Ethan's, rapid and retreating in the opposite direction. Marco appeared in the building entrance moments later, completely composed, like the confrontation upstairs had been nothing more than a minor inconvenience. He guided me to the car, loaded my bags in the trunk, and we pulled away from the curb in silence. It wasn't until we were several blocks away that I finally spoke. "What did you say to him? After I left?" "Nothing he didn't need to hear." "Marco." He was quiet for a moment, then sighed. "I told him that I know where he works, where his parents live, where he gets his coffee every morning. I told him that I have resources he can't imagine, and patience he shouldn't test. And I told him that if he values his current comfortable life, he'll pretend you died 2 years ago and never think about you again. And if he doesn't listen, then I'll make good on every implied threat." He glanced at me, his expression softer now. "But he'll listen. Men like Ethan are cowards. They only fight battles they know they can win, and he knows he can't win this one." I should have been horrified. Should have told Marco to turn the car around. That I couldn't be part of whatever this was. That threats and intimidation weren't the answer. But instead, I felt something release in my chest. A tension I'd been carrying for so long I'd forgotten what it felt like to breathe without it. "Thank you," I whispered. "You keep thanking me. Because you keep saving me." Marco reached over and took my hand, his grip warm and solid and certain. "Then I guess Ethan was wrong. Someone does save you. And I'm not going anywhere." We drove back to his house in comfortable silence, my hand still in his, the weight of the day finally settling into something manageable. For the first time in 2 years, I didn't feel like prey. I felt protected. And maybe, just maybe, I was starting to feel like I deserved to be. 3 days passed in Marco's house, and they were the strangest 3 days of my life. Peaceful, quiet, almost normal. I'd wake up to coffee already made, breakfast laid out, and Marco working at his laptop in the kitchen like a regular person doing regular things. We'd talk about mundane subjects, movies, books, the absurdity of 24-hour news cycles. He'd drive me to school, pick me up, check in throughout the day with texts that were somehow both protective and respectful of my space. "How's the crayon communist?" he'd ask. Or, "Did Jaden finally understand division?" Or simply, "You good? Always. You good?" And I'd respond honestly, because lying to Marco felt impossible. "Yes," I'd type back. "I'm good." The thing was, I actually was good. For the first time in years, I wasn't looking over my shoulder every 5 minutes, wasn't jumping at unexpected sounds, wasn't planning escape routes from every room I entered. The constant vigilance that had become my default state started to ease, replaced by something I barely recognized: security. But on the 4th night, everything changed. I was in the guest room, my room now, apparently, since Marco had told me to stop calling it that. Grading papers when I heard raised voices from downstairs. Male voices. Marco's, calm but firm, and someone else's, aggressive and demanding. I crept to the top of the stairs, my teacher instincts kicking in. Assess the situation. Don't intervene without information. Stay out of sight until you understand what's happening. "I don't care what you think you heard," the unknown voice was saying. "This is my business, my territory, and you don't get to. Your territory ended when you started moving product through the school district." Marco's voice cut through like ice. "We had an agreement. You broke it. That was before you decided to play house with some random woman. People are talking, Marco, saying you're going soft. People can say whatever they want. I'm not interested in their opinions." Well, you should be. Because the second they think you're weak, the second they think you care more about your little girlfriend than the family business, we're all vulnerable. You're making us vulnerable. There was a long pause. Then Marco spoke, and his voice was colder than I'd ever heard it. "Let me be very clear. What I do in my personal life is none of your concern. What should concern you is that I'm still the one keeping this organization running, still the one making sure everyone gets paid, Still the one handling problems before they become crises. The fact that I have someone staying here changes none of that. It changes everything. You're distracted. I'm done with this conversation. Footsteps, heading toward the door. You have until morning to remove your operations from the school zones. If I hear they're still there by noon tomorrow, we'll have a different kind of discussion. You can't just... I can, and I am. Get out. A door slammed. Silence. Then I heard Marco's footsteps coming up the stairs, and I scrambled back to my room, shutting the door quietly and returning to my papers like I'd been there the whole time. But my hands were shaking, and the red pen I was holding left a long mark across Emma Martinez's spelling test. A soft knock. Lena, can I come in? Sure. Marco entered, looking tired in a way I hadn't seen before. Not physically tired, he still looked as put together as always, but emotionally exhausted. The kind of tired that comes from carrying weight no one else can see. You heard, he said. It wasn't a question. Some of it. I set down my pen. Are you okay? He almost smiled. I should be asking you that. After what you just heard about my family business. I already knew you weren't a regular businessman, Marco. You told me that the first night. Knowing in theory and hearing it confirmed are different things. He sat on the edge of the bed, careful to maintain distance. I wanted to protect you from that part of my life. Why? Because you've already dealt with one man who dragged you into his darkness. You don't need another. I thought about that for a moment. About Ethan's darkness and Marco's. How different they were. How one had been built on control and cruelty, while the other seemed built on... what? Protection? Loyalty? Some twisted code of honor that existed in the shadows? That man, I said carefully. He said you were going soft, that people think you care more about me than the business. He's an idiot with more ambition than sense. But is he right? Marco looked at me then, really looked at me, and I saw something in his eyes that made my breath catch. Vulnerability, uncertainty, the cracks in the armor he wore so effortlessly around everyone else. I don't know, he admitted. Maybe. Probably. The truth is, Lena, I haven't cared about much of anything in a long time. I built this life, this organization, this reputation, because I was good at it, and because it gave me purpose when I didn't have anything else. But lately, he trailed off, running a hand through his hair. Lately, I've been wondering what the point is. All this power, all this control, and for what? To die alone in a big house, surrounded by people who respect me but don't actually know me? You don't have to answer that. No, I want to. He shifted closer, still maintaining that careful distance. When I saw you in that parking lot, when I heard what your ex said to you, something shifted. I saw someone who'd been hurt by a different kind of power, the personal, insidious kind, and I realized that's not who I wanted to be. I didn't want to be the man who uses fear to control people. I wanted to be the man who protects them from it. That's a big realization to have in a grocery store parking lot. He laughed, soft and genuine. Yeah, not my finest moment of self-awareness. But here we are. Here we are, I echoed. Then, before I could stop myself, are you really going soft? Probably. Is that a problem? I thought about it. Thought about the Marco who'd confronted Ethan with cold efficiency, who'd researched my ex-husband without asking, who'd put men on my protection detail like it was nothing. And then I thought about the Marco who made me coffee every morning, who asked about my students, who gave me space when I needed it, and presence when I didn't. No, I said finally. It's not a problem. It's just different. Different good or different bad? Different complicated. He smiled at that. I can work with complicated. We sat in comfortable silence for a moment, the weight of everything unspoken hanging between us. Then I asked the question I'd been avoiding. What are you going to do? About your business, about the people who think you're weak, about all of it. I'm going to do what I always do. Handle it. He stood up, and the movement brought him close enough that I could see the tattoo that usually stayed hidden, some kind of family crest or symbol, intricate and meaningful. But I'm also going to make some changes. Pull back from the operations that don't align with who I want to be. Focus on the legitimate businesses. Maybe even sell off some of the more problematic assets. Because of me? Because of me, he corrected. You just helped me realize it was time. Marco, I can't be responsible for... You're not responsible for anything. You're the first person in a long time who's looked at me and seen something other than what I can do for them, or what I can take from them. You see me. The actual person under all of this. He gestured vaguely at himself, at the expensive clothes and the mansion and the life he'd built. And that's worth more than any business deal. I didn't know what to say to that. Didn't know how to process the fact that this man, this dangerous, powerful, impossibly complicated man, was essentially telling me I'd changed his life just by existing in it. I should let you finish grading, Marco said, moving toward the door. But Lena? Thank you. For what? For not running. Most people would have, after hearing that conversation downstairs. But you stayed. That means more than you know. He left before I could respond, closing the door quietly behind him. I sat there for a long time. Emma Martinez's spelling test still marked with that accidental red line, my mind spinning with everything I'd learned. Marco Santoro was a criminal, a mob boss, someone who operated in the shadows and made people disappear with a phone call. I should have been terrified, should have packed my bags and called a taxi and gotten as far away as possible. But instead, I picked up my pen and continued grading, the sounds of Marco moving around downstairs somehow comforting rather than concerning. Because the truth was, I'd been living with fear for so long that danger had become my baseline. And Marco's version of danger, calculated, controlled, directed at people who deserved it, felt less threatening than Ethan's had ever been. Maybe that made me damaged. Maybe it made me desperate. Or maybe it just made me human. Someone who'd finally found a person willing to stand between her and the monsters, even if that person was a monster himself. Later that night, as I was getting ready for bed, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. My heart jumped. Ethan. But when I opened the message, it was something else entirely. I told you not to cry. I told you no one would save you. But looks like I was wrong. Enjoy it while it lasts. This isn't over. My hands shook as I read it. Read it again. Tried to figure out how he'd gotten this number when I'd changed it 3 times. I was halfway to Marco's room before I even realized I'd moved, before I'd made the conscious decision to not handle this alone. I knocked. He answered immediately, like he'd been waiting. When he saw my face, his expression went from concern to lethal in half a second. What happened? I showed him the message. Marco read it once, his jaw tightening with each word. Then he pulled out his own phone and made a call, speaking in rapid Italian again. When he hung up, he looked at me with that same intensity from the parking lot, the look that said someone had made a terrible mistake and was about to pay for it. It's taken care of. We'll have a location trace within the hour, and tomorrow we're getting you a new phone with a protected number, one he can't get. Marco. This is escalating, Lena. You see that, right? He's not backing down. He's getting more desperate, more aggressive, which means we need to end this. Permanently. The word permanently hung in the air between us, loaded with implication. What does that mean? I asked, even though part of me already knew. It means I'm going to have a conversation with Ethan that leaves no room for misinterpretation. It means he's going to understand that his options are to leave you alone or deal with consequences he can't imagine. Marco reached out and took my phone, examining the message again. It means I'm done playing nice. I don't want you to hurt him. I won't. Not unless I have to. He handed the phone back. But I will make sure he never bothers you again. You have my word. I believed him. More than that, I trusted him. Which was either the smartest decision I'd ever made, or the most catastrophic. Stay here tonight, Marco said. Not in the guest room. Here. I'll sleep on the floor, but I want you where I can see you. Where I know you're safe. Marco, that's not necessary. It is for me. His voice softened. Please, Lena, just for tonight. Let me know you're okay. So I stayed, curled up in Marco's bed, which smelled like his cologne and felt impossibly safe, while he set up blankets on the floor beside me like some kind of guardian. And even though I should have been terrified, of Ethan, of the message, of everything that was spiraling out of control, I felt strangely calm. Because for the first time in my life, I had someone who wasn't just saying they'd protect me. They were actually doing it. And tomorrow, when Marco made good on his promise to end this permanently, I'd have to decide if I was willing to accept what that protection cost. But tonight, I was too tired to care. Tonight, I just wanted to sleep without fear. And for the first time in years, I did. The call came at 2 a.m. I woke to the sound of Marco's phone buzzing insistently on the nightstand, his low voice answering in Italian, growing harder and colder with each sentence. I kept my eyes closed, pretending to sleep, but my heart was racing. Something was wrong. Marco hung up and I heard him move quietly toward the door. Against my better judgment, I called out, "Marco?" He paused. "I didn't mean to wake you. What's wrong?" "Nothing for you to worry about. Go back to sleep." But I was already sitting up, turning on the bedside lamp. "Don't do that. Don't treat me like I can't handle whatever this is." He was fully dressed already. Jeans, dark shirt, that same controlled intensity radiating from every movement. "Your ex-husband just tried to break into your apartment. Building security caught him on camera. Neighbors called the police. He's been arrested." The words took a moment to register. What? He was trying to get into your apartment at 2 a.m. with what police are calling tools consistent with forced entry. Marco's expression was grim. He's finally crossed the line in a way the system can't ignore. I should have felt relieved, vindicated, safe. Instead, I felt a strange emptiness, like I'd been bracing for impact for so long that actually surviving the crash left me hollow. Is he still in custody? For now. Probably will be until arraignment, which won't happen until Monday at the earliest. Marco moved to the window, looking out at the dark grounds. "This is good, Lena. This is exactly what we needed. Documented evidence of escalation, violation of the restraining order, attempted breaking and entering. Any halfway decent prosecutor will have a field day with this. Then why don't you look happy about it?" He was quiet for a long moment. Because men like Ethan don't stop just because they get arrested. They get angrier, more desperate. And when they get out, and they always get out eventually, they come back worse than before. "So what are you saying?" "I'm saying we need a permanent solution, not violence," he added quickly, seeing my expression. "But something that ensures he never comes near you again. Legal, binding, and backed up by enough evidence that he'd be insane to violate it." "Like what?" "Like a deal. One where he agrees to stay away from you in exchange for not having certain information about his life become public. Information about tax fraud, about embezzlement from his company, about... You've been investigating him. Extensively. And your ex-husband is not nearly as clean as he pretends to be. Marco turned back to face me. I can make him disappear from your life completely, Lena. Not through violence or intimidation, but through simple self-preservation. He'll choose to stay away because the alternative is too costly. That's blackmail. That's leverage. There's a difference. Is there, though? Marco walked over and sat on the edge of the bed, close enough that I could see the exhaustion in his eyes. I've done a lot of things I'm not proud of. Built a life on choices that most people would condemn. But everything I've done in the past week, every decision I've made regarding your ex-husband, has been about protecting you, not about power or control or proving anything, just about making sure you can live without fear. I know, I said quietly, and that's what scares me. What do you mean? I mean that I'm starting to depend on you, to need you in a way that feels dangerous. Because what happens when you get tired of this? When protecting me becomes inconvenient, or boring, or just another obligation? What happens when I'm not a project anymore, Marco? Do I go back to being alone, except now I won't know how to function without you? He was silent for a long moment, processing my words. Then he reached out slowly, giving me time to pull away, and took my hand. You're not a project. You're not an obligation. He paused, searching for the right words. You're the first thing I've cared about in years that isn't about business or family or maintaining power. You're just you. And that's enough. It shouldn't be. I'm a mess. I'm damaged and scared, and I can't even check my own mail without having a panic attack. I'm not some prize you won by saving me. I don't want a prize. I want. He stopped, seeming to struggle with something. Then, almost reluctantly, I want you to stay. Not because you're afraid of Ethan, not because you need protection, but because you want to. Because when this is all over and he's gone and you're safe, you'll choose to be here anyway. My breath caught. Marco, I know it's too soon. I know you're still recovering from everything he put you through. I'm not asking for anything right now. He squeezed my hand gently. I'm just telling you that when you're ready, if you're ever ready, I'll be here. Not as your protector. Just as me. I didn't know what to say to that. Didn't know how to reconcile the Marco who ordered people around and made criminals disappear with the Marco who was sitting on my bed at 2 a.m, holding my hand like it was something precious. What if I'm never ready? I asked. What if Ethan broke something in me that can't be fixed? Then we'll figure it out together. Or we won't, and we'll stay friends. Or we won't even be that, and I'll still make sure you're safe because that's what decent people do for each other. He smiled slightly. I'm not Ethan, Lena. I'm not going to punish you for not giving me what I want. Whatever happens between us, or doesn't happen, you'll still have a place here for as long as you need it. The sincerity in his voice broke something open in my chest. Before I could stop myself, I was crying. Not the scared, panicked tears from the parking lot, but something deeper. Relief, maybe. Or grief for all the years I'd spent believing that love and protection had to come with conditions. Marco pulled me against his chest without asking. One hand cradling the back of my head, the other wrapped around my shoulders. He didn't tell me to stop crying, didn't try to fix anything, didn't make it about him. He just held me while I sobbed, his heartbeat steady against my ear, his presence solid and unwavering. When I finally pulled back, embarrassed and red-eyed, he just handed me a tissue from the nightstand, like this was the most natural thing in the world. Sorry, I mumbled. I didn't mean to fall apart. You're not falling apart. You're processing. There's a difference. He stood up, giving me space. Try to get some sleep. Tomorrow we'll deal with everything. Lawyers, police statements, All of it. But tonight, you just need to rest. Marco? I called as he reached the door. Thank you. For everything. For seeing me when everyone else just looked away. He paused, his hand on the doorframe. I'll always see you, Lena. That's not something that changes. Then he was gone. And I was alone in his room, in his bed, surrounded by the evidence of a life I was starting to become part of. I should have been thinking about Ethan, about the arrest, about what came next. But instead, I found myself thinking about Marco's words. I'll always see you. It was the opposite of everything Ethan had said, everything he'd made me believe. And for the first time, I let myself consider the possibility that maybe, just maybe, I deserve to be seen, to be protected, to be cared for without conditions, or manipulation, or fear. The next morning, I woke to sunlight and the smell of coffee, the now familiar routine of Marco's protection, making everything feel almost normal. He was already in the kitchen, on the phone with someone who was clearly a lawyer, based on the legal terminology being thrown around. When he saw me, he covered the phone's mouthpiece. Coffee's fresh, and we have bagels. Real New York ones. I had someone drive them in this morning. You had someone drive bagels from New York? You mentioned last week that you missed them. I made a note. He went back to his call like this was completely reasonable behavior. I poured coffee, took a bagel, and sat at the counter, marveling at this strange new reality. The Mafia boss who remembered random comments about breakfast food. The criminal who made sure I had lesson plans for my second graders. The dangerous man who held me while I cried and asked for nothing in return. Marco hung up and turned to me, his expression businesslike. Okay, here's where we stand. Ethan's being charged with attempted burglary, stalking, and violation of the restraining order. The prosecutor is pushing for no bail given the escalation pattern. My lawyers have provided them with additional documentation of his harassment, all legally obtained. He added, seeing my expression. Nothing that will come back on you. What kind of documentation? Security footage from your apartment building showing him loitering. Phone records showing repeated calls from burner phones. Social media activity that demonstrates obsessive behavior. And financial records showing he hired a private investigator to track your movements. I felt cold. He hired someone to follow me. 2 months ago, the investigator already gave a statement to police. Apparently your ex didn't pay the full fee, so he's happy to cooperate. Marco's expression was grim. The point is, we have enough to keep him away for a very long time. And if the criminal charges somehow don't stick, I have enough leverage in the civil realm to make his life very uncomfortable. The blackmail you mentioned. The leverage, he corrected. Which I'll only use if necessary. My preference is to let the legal system handle this, but I always have a backup plan. Of course he did. Marco Santoro didn't leave anything to chance. What do I need to do? I asked. For now, nothing. Go to work, teach your kids, live your life. I've already arranged for additional security at your school. Discreet, you won't even notice them. And when you're ready, when this all settles down, we'll talk about next steps. Next steps for what? For whatever you want. He poured his own coffee, leaning against the counter across from me. Your apartment isn't safe, even with Ethan in custody. So you can stay here as long as you need. Or I can help you find a new place, somewhere with better security. Or, he paused, or we can see where this goes, this thing between us, whatever it is. My heart hammered. Marco, I'm not ready for... I know, and I'm not asking you to be. I'm just saying the option exists. When you're ready. If you're ever ready. He smiled slightly. I'm a patient man, Lena. I can wait. 3 months later, Ethan took a plea deal that included a restraining order, mandatory counseling, and a sentence that would keep him away from me for years. Marco's leverage was never needed. The evidence was overwhelming enough that Ethan's lawyer advised him to take the deal or risk something much worse at trial. I didn't attend the hearing. Didn't need to see his face or hear his voice or give him any more of my emotional energy. Instead, I was in my classroom, teaching fractions to 22 second graders who had no idea their teacher had just been set free. Marco picked me up after school like he'd been doing every day for months. We'd fallen into an easy routine, dinners together, conversations that lasted until midnight, comfortable silences that felt more intimate than words. He'd backed off on the mob operations like he'd promised, transitioning to legitimate businesses and donating anonymously to causes that mattered. He was trying to be better. For himself, he insisted, but I knew I was part of that motivation. "It's over," he said as I got in the car. "Official. Final. He's gone." I nodded, feeling something release in my chest that I'd been holding on to for years. "It's over." "So," Marco said carefully, "now what?" I looked at him. This complicated, dangerous, impossibly caring man who'd transformed my life just by refusing to look away. "Now we figure out what comes next. Together." His smile was genuine, reaching his eyes in a way I rarely saw. Together. I like the sound of that. We drove back to his house. Our house, he'd started calling it, testing the word like a question I hadn't yet answered. And as we pulled through those iron gates, past the security and into the safety he'd built around us, I realized something fundamental had shifted. I wasn't running anymore. Wasn't hiding. Wasn't waiting for the next disaster. I was choosing. Actively, consciously choosing to build a life with someone who'd seen me at my most broken and decided I was worth fighting for. Ethan had been wrong about everything. Someone had saved me. But more importantly, I'd saved myself too. And now, finally, I was ready to figure out what living, really living, looked like. With Marco Santoro, former mob boss and current man trying desperately to be worthy of the second chance I represented, by my side. It wasn't a fairy tale ending. It was messy and complicated, and built on a foundation of trauma and transformation. But it was real. It was mine. And for the first time in longer than I could remember, that was enough.